A room filled with men in fine suits, cigars in their mouths, maps spread across a giant table, and with every stroke of a pen, they sliced up an entire continent, like carving a cake none of them baked. This wasn't fiction, it was the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, the moment Europe decided the fate of Africa without a single African in the room. This is the story of the scramble for Africa, ruthless race by European empires to grab as much of the continent as they could, a race that would redraw borders, destroy kingdoms, and plant the seeds of both progress and pain that still echo today. By the late 1800s, Africa was a mystery to Europe, a land of vast resources, gold, diamonds, ivory, fertile lands, and millions of people. For centuries, the coasts were known for trade and tragedy with the transatlantic slave trade. But when slavery began to decline, Europe turned its eyes inward to the heart of Africa. Explorers like David Livingstone and Henry Morton Stanley sent back tales of rivers that stretched forever and lands waiting to be civilized. Those stories sparked a frenzy, not of discovery, but of conquest. King Leopold II of Belgium, a man with a smile of gold and a heart of steel, he claimed he wanted to bring civilization to Central Africa, but in truth he wanted its riches. He sent Stanley to the Congo Basin, signing secret treaties with African chiefs, and soon Leopold had his own private empire, a territory almost 80 times larger than Belgium itself. His actions terrified Europe's other powers. If one small king could take all that, what stopped the rest from grabbing their share? So in November 1884, Otto von Bismarck, the German chancellor, called the world's biggest powers to his capital, Berlin. The goal was to avoid war in Europe over African land, and the result was to divide Africa among themselves. Picture this: representatives from Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Spain, Italy, all seated around a long table. There were no African leaders, no local voice, no one to say, "This land is ours." Over 3 months, they drew lines on maps, creating borders that ignored tribes, kingdoms, and cultures. The Congo went to King Leopold. Britain claimed Egypt, Sudan, Nigeria, and South Africa. France took massive chunks of West and Central Africa. Germany, the new empire, took what is now Namibia, Tanzania, Cameroon, and Togo. By the time the conference ended in February 1885, Europe had carved Africa into 50 artificial territories. After Berlin, the scramble for Africa turned violent. European flags began to fly over African lands. From the deserts of the Sahara to the forests of the Congo, resistance fled and was brutally crushed. In Sudan, the Mahadist warriors fought the British. In Ashanti and Benin, kingdoms resisted British domination. In Ethiopia, Emperor Menelik II made history in 1896 by defeating Italy at the Battle of Adwa, the only African victory that kept their independence. But elsewhere, millions were enslaved, displaced, or killed. Leopold's Congo Free State became one of the darkest chapters in colonial history. Villages destroyed, hands cut off for failing rubber quotas, an estimated 10 million lives were lost. By 1914, only Liberia and Ethiopia remained free. The rest of Africa was ruled by Europe. The borders they drew in Berlin still shape Africa today, and many of the conflicts, divisions, and struggles for identity trace back to that infamous map. But so do the spark of resilience. From those broken kingdoms rose independence leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, and Nelson Mandela, who fought to reclaim Africa's destiny. So the next time you look at a map of Africa, remember, those lines weren't born of geography or culture. They were born in a smoke-filled room in Berlin, where strangers with rulers and greed drew the shape of a continent's pain, and eventually its rebirth. What do you think of the Berlin Conference? I'd like to know in the comment section. For more stories like this, please click the like button, share, and subscribe.